Your body stopped sending hunger signals 3 years ago. You just didn't notice. Right now, 4:47 p.m., you realize you haven't eaten since... Wait. Did you eat today? Coffee counts, right? That's not discipline. That's your metabolism screaming in a language you forgot how to hear. Because here's what's actually happening inside you while you're proud of forgetting to eat. Your liver is drowning in fat it can't process. Your brain thinks you're starving while your cells are stuffed. And your insulin? It's been yelling at your cells for so long they've stopped listening entirely. Doctors have a name for this. You won't like it. It's called metabolic syndrome. Silent, invisible. And it's rewriting your future while you scroll through lunch. So when was the last time you felt actual hunger? Not I could eat, not it's noon. Real, physical, stomach-contracting hunger? If you can't remember, your ghrelin rhythm is already broken. If you shrug it off, your leptin resistance is setting in. And if you think this doesn't matter because the scale hasn't moved, that's exactly when it matters most. Let me show you what happened. 3 years ago, you started drinking coffee to skip breakfast, saved time, felt productive. Your stomach stopped complaining after week 2. You thought you won. 2 years ago, you started working through lunch, crackers at your desk, handful of almonds during calls. Never actually hungry, never actually full, just efficient. 1 year ago, dinner became the only real meal. But by then, you'd trained your body so well to ignore hunger that even dinner felt like obligation, not need. And now? Now you can go 16 hours without eating and feel nothing. You tell people, I just don't get hungry anymore. They call it willpower. Your endocrinologist would call it a red flag. Because hunger isn't a craving you conquered. It's a survival alarm your body is no longer allowed to sound. And when that alarm goes silent, 3 catastrophic processes start without permission. First, your pancreas starts flooding your blood with insulin every time you eat, even tiny amounts, because your cells have stopped responding to normal levels. That's insulin resistance. The thing that comes before diabetes, the thing developing right now. Second, your liver, which should be processing and releasing energy smoothly, starts hoarding fat inside its own cells. No alcohol required, no symptoms. Just silent accumulation until one day, a routine blood test shows elevated liver enzymes and your doctor uses the phrase fatty liver disease. Third, your fat cells start pumping out leptin, the hormone that should tell your brain, we have enough stored energy, you can relax. But your brain stopped listening. So you're walking around with storage units full of energy your body refuses to access. This is called leptin resistance, and it's why you can feel exhausted while carrying 20 extra pounds. Your body has energy. It just can't hear the reports anymore. But here's the part that makes this truly insidious. You don't feel sick. No pain, no rash, no fever. Just a quiet, steady drift toward metabolic chaos that won't announce itself until you're sitting in a cardiologist's office wondering how your arteries got so clogged. So the question isn't, why don't I feel hungry anymore? The question is, what else has my body stopped telling me? Your hunger was never supposed to be a craving you fight. It was supposed to be it's a conversation you understand. Right now inside you, there's a group chat running 24/7. Your stomach, your fat cells, your pancreas, your brain, each one sending hormonal messages about survival. When the system works, it sounds like this. Your stomach produces ghrelin before meals. That's the fuel is running low ping. Not an emergency, just a calm heads up. Your fat cells release leptin after you eat. That's the we have reserves, you can stand down message. A background hum of safety. Your pancreas sends insulin when glucose enters your blood. That's the traffic controller saying, route this energy into cells now or store it for later. And your brain reads all 3 signals simultaneously, processing them in the hypothalamus, this tiny region deep in your skull that acts like mission control for your entire metabolism. When these signals flow clearly, you feel hunger as a wave. It builds, peaks. You eat, it falls, but you don't feel hunger in waves anymore. You feel nothing until suddenly, randomly, you're irritable and shaky and eating crackers standing over the sink at 9 p.m. That's not hunger, that's a system malfunction. And it started the day you began eating constantly. Because here's what constant eating does to that group chat. Every snack, even tiny ones, triggers insulin. Coffee with cream? Insulin. Handful of grapes? Insulin. 3 almonds between meetings? Insulin. And when insulin never fully drops, your cells start ignoring it. That's resistance. When insulin resistance sets in, leptin's message from your fat cells gets drowned out. Your brain can't hear "we have plenty stored," so it keeps acting like you're in an energy crisis. Meanwhile, ghrelin, your actual hunger signal, gets suppressed by constant feeding. It never rises in that clean wave anymore. It just flatlines. So now your group chat looks like this. Ghrelin, silent. Leptin, screaming into void. Insulin, blaring nonstop. Brain, confused, defensive, hoarding energy. And you? You just think you have good self-control, but here's where it gets genuinely disturbing. This isn't a metaphor. This is measurable. In the 1990s, researchers at Rockefeller University discovered leptin by studying mice that ate themselves into obesity. These mice had a broken gene, no leptin production. Their brains never received the "you have enough energy stored" signal, so they ate and ate and ate. When scientists injected leptin into these mice, their appetite dropped immediately. Weight fell. Behavior normalized. The revelation? Fat tissue isn't just storage. It's an endocrine organ, sending survival messages to your brain. Then in 1999, Japanese researchers identified ghrelin. They found that injecting it into animals made them ravenously hungry. Blocking it killed appetite entirely. Suddenly, hunger wasn't vague willpower, it was chemistry. These discoveries won major awards. Reshaped endocrinology. Proved that your body has a hardwired system for regulating energy, built by millions of years of evolution. A system designed to prevent starvation in a world where food was uncertain. Not to handle Starbucks drive-thrus and 24/7 Uber Eats. And when you flood that ancient system with constant calories, ultra-processed foods, and zero gaps between eating, it doesn't evolve. It breaks. Silently. So the next time you feel proud that you forgot to eat, ask yourself this: did you forget? Or did your body stop asking because you trained it to stay silent? Let me show you exactly how you trained it. You don't think you eat constantly. But let's actually map your last Tuesday. 7 a.m. Coffee with cream and sugar. Insulin. Activated. 9:30 a.m. Protein bar at your desk. Insulin. Activated. 12:45 p.m. Lunch. Sandwich, chips, diet soda. Insulin surging. 2 p.m. Just a few. M and miss from the bowl on your coworker's desk. Insulin activated. 3:30 p.m. Iced latte to fight the afternoon slump. Insulin activated. 6:30 p.m. Dinner. Pasta, garlic bread, salad with dressing. Insulin surging. 8:45 p.m. Ice cream while watching Netflix. Insulin activated. 10:30 p.m. Handful of chips before bed because why not? Insulin activated. That's 8 insulin spikes. In one day. Your pancreas never rested. Your cells never got a break. Your ghrelin never had space to rise in a clean wave. You weren't eating meals. You were grazing like livestock. And here's what makes this trap so brutal. Ultra-processed foods are designed to hijack this exact system. Food scientists don't just make things tasty. They engineer combinations of sugar, fat, and salt that hit your brain's dopamine pathways harder than whole foods ever could. Your body releases dopamine when you do something that aids survival. Eating used to trigger a modest dopamine bump, a signal that says, good, you're refueling. But Doritos, Oreos, Frappuccinos, these aren't food, they're dopamine bombs. They flood your reward circuits so intensely that your brain starts to crave the hit, not the nutrition. And here's the sickest part. After the spike, they crash you. Blood sugar skyrockets. Insulin floods in to handle it. Then blood sugar plummets. And your brain, now desperate and shaky, screams for another hit. Not because you're hungry, because you're in a biochemical loop. So you reach for another snack. Insulin spikes again. Ghrelin stays suppressed. Leptin keeps yelling from your fat cells, but your brain has tuned it out, and the whole time you think you're just snacking throughout the day. You're not snacking. You're chemically rewiring your metabolism to depend on constant feeding. Now layer in stress, chronic deadlines, money pressure, notifications every 11 seconds. Your cortisol, stress hormone, stays elevated. And cortisol does two things. First, it suppresses hunger during the day. You forget to eat because your body is in low-grade fight or flight. Second, it triggers rebound eating at night. When cortisol finally drops and you're exhausted, your brain demands payback. That's why you can skip lunch without thinking, then demolish an entire bag of chips at 9 p.m. and not understand why. Your body isn't broken. It's responding exactly as designed to the signals you're sending. And if you add sleep deprivation to this mess, now we're in full catastrophe mode. Studies show that sleeping less than 7 hours per night increases ghrelin and decreases leptin. Translation: you feel hungrier while your brain can't recognize when you've had enough. So you eat more, store more, crave more, and still, you think this is about willpower. It's not willpower. It's hormonal chaos. And the longer you stay in this 24/7 feeding trap, the worse the next part gets. Because here's what's happening behind the scenes while you graze your way through the day feeling fine. Let me take you inside your liver. Your liver is supposed to act like a fuel station. It stores glucose as glycogen, releases it when your blood sugar dips, processes fats, clears toxins, clean, efficient, no drama, but when you eat constantly and never give your liver a break, it starts drowning. Every time insulin is high and your glycogen stores are already full, incoming calories have nowhere to go, so your liver converts them to fat and stores that fat inside its own cells. At first, it's microscopic, a few droplets here and there, no pain, no yellowing, no symptoms at all. Then months pass. More droplets accumulate. Liver cells start to swell. You still feel fine. Then years pass. Now it's called non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, NAFLD. And here's the truly disturbing part. You can develop fatty liver disease without drinking a single drop of alcohol, just from constant eating, just from ultra-processed carbs and sugar, just from never giving your liver space to clear itself out. Right now, an estimated 25% of adults in developed countries have fatty liver. Most don't know. Because it doesn't hurt. But it's actively destroying your metabolic future. Fatty liver is a core pillar of metabolic syndrome. It's linked to insulin resistance, high blood pressure, abnormal cholesterol, and increased risk of type 2 diabetes. And it's developing while you tell people, I'm not even that hungry most of the time. That's the whole problem. When you eat without hunger, your body doesn't need the energy. So it stores it. And when you do that meal after meal, snack after snack, year after year, storage becomes overload. Your fat cells expand. At first they do their job. They tuck away excess calories into triglycerides, keeping them out of your bloodstream where they could cause damage. But fat cells have limits. When they max out, they start releasing inflammatory signals, cytokines, proteins that trigger low-grade chronic inflammation throughout your entire body. This inflammation doesn't feel like a sore throat, it feels like nothing. But it's quietly damaging your blood vessels, stiffening your arteries, raising your risk of heart disease and stroke. And here's where leptin resistance becomes truly sinister. Your fat cells are pumping out leptin, desperately trying to tell your brain, we're overstuffed, stop eating, But your brain, battered by years of constant insulin and ultra-processed dopamine hits, has gone deaf to the signal. So your brain still thinks you're in an energy crisis, even though you're walking around with energy storage units bursting at the seams. This is why people can gain 50 pounds and still feel starving around certain foods. It's not hunger, it's leptin resistance. Your body has energy. Your brain just can't access the reports. Meanwhile, your pancreas is in full crisis mode. It's been pumping out insulin all day, every day for years. Your cells have stopped responding. So your pancreas has to produce more insulin just to get the same effect. This is called hyperinsulinemia, high baseline insulin. And it doesn't just manage blood sugar, it drives fat storage, it blocks fat burning, it feeds insulin resistance, it accelerates aging at the cellular level. Eventually, your pancreas can't keep up. The beta cells that produce insulin start to burn out. Blood sugar starts to rise. And one day, a routine blood test comes back with a new word in your file, prediabetes. But here's the part doctors won't tell you. By the time you're diagnosed with prediabetes, you've likely been insulin resistant for a decade. The damage started years ago, while you were grazing, while you were forgetting to eat, while you were proud of your appetite control. Your metabolism was silently breaking, and it will keep breaking until you do something your body hasn't experienced in years. True hunger, real gaps, empty space. But there's another layer to this that almost nobody talks about, and it's happening in your intestines. Right now, inside your gut, there are trillions of microbes, bacteria, fungi, viruses, living organisms that outnumber your own human cells. You think of your body as you, but you're actually a walking ecosystem, and that ecosystem has a voice. These gut microbes feed on what you eat, and as they digest your food, they produce metabolites, chemical messengers that enter your bloodstream and travel to your brain. Some of these metabolites promote satiety, some trigger hunger. Some influence mood, motivation, even cravings. When your diet is rich in whole foods, fiber, and variety, your microbiome tends to support balanced hunger and steady energy. But when ultra-processed foods dominate your diet, the ecosystem shifts. Microbes that thrive on sugar and refined carbs take over. They colonize your gut, and they start sending signals that benefit them, not you. They push you to crave more sugar, more quick carbs, more of the foods they love. Meanwhile, the microbes that help you feel satisfied from real, nutrient-dense food, those species die off. So suddenly, a normal meal doesn't feel enough. But you also don't feel clean, empty hunger between meals. You feel off, never truly full, never truly hungry, just stuck in this vague, uncomfortable middle. And that discomfort drives you back to ultra-processed foods for relief, which feeds the problem microbes even more. It's a cycle, and it's running in your gut right now, but it gets worse. Those same ultra-processed foods don't just shift your microbiome. They hijack your brain's dopamine pathways. Food companies spend billions engineering the exact combinations of sugar, fat, and salt that trigger the most intense dopamine response. They're not guessing. They have neuroscientists on staff. They know that certain ratios hit your reward circuits harder than others. They know that adding specific textures makes you crave more. They know that particular flavor combinations override your natural satiety signals, and they use that knowledge to keep you eating. Because your brain evolved to release dopamine when you do something that supports survival. Eating used to be one of those things. But modern food hacks that system. It delivers such an intense dopamine hit that your brain starts to learn. This food equals survival. I need more of this. Meanwhile, plain chicken and steamed broccoli barely register. So over time, you lose the ability to feel satisfied by real food. Your brain has been trained to chase dopamine, not nutrition. And hunger, real, physical, survival-driven hunger, becomes unfamiliar, uncomfortable, even frightening. So you avoid it, you snack to prevent it, you graze to suppress it. You eat by the clock so you never have to feel it. And your body, which was designed to use hunger as a signal to refuel and then rest, never gets that rest. Your metabolism never gets a break. Your insulin never fully drops. Your cells never get the message that it's time to switch from storage mode to repair mode. And that's when the next level damage starts. Because what you don't feel is what kills you. Let me show you the timeline of damage that's already running. Year 1 of constant eating. Insulin resistance begins. Your cells start ignoring insulin's signal. Your pancreas compensates by producing more. You feel nothing. Year 3. Fat accumulation in the liver becomes measurable. Triglycerides start to climb. HDL cholesterol, the good kind, starts to drop. You feel nothing. Year 5, your liver is now classified as fatty. Your fasting insulin is double what it should be. Your waist measurement has increased, even if your weight seems stable. You feel nothing. Year 7. Your blood pressure starts creeping up. Your fasting glucose is now in the prediabetic range. Your doctor mentions watching your numbers. You feel nothing. Year 10. You're diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, or high blood pressure, or both. And you're confused, because you eat pretty healthy. You don't even get that hungry. But the damage didn't start when you got the diagnosis. It started a decade earlier, when hunger went quiet. And here's what makes this timeline so brutal. Most of the damage is invisible. Your arteries are stiffening with plaque, but you don't feel it. Your blood vessels are inflamed, but you don't see it. Your cells are aging faster, but you don't notice it, until one day you do. A heart attack at 52, a stroke at 58, kidney disease at 61. And everyone, including you, calls it sudden. It wasn't sudden, it was silent. But the damage isn't just physical. Your brain is paying a price too. When your blood sugar is unstable all day, spiking, crashing, spiking again, your mental state follows the same pattern. Brain fog, irritability, crashes in focus, mood swings. You blame stress. You blame your job. You blame your kids. But it's your metabolism. When your body is trapped in constant fed state, your brain never gets the glucose stability it needs to function optimally. Worse, chronic insulin resistance is now linked to cognitive decline. Studies show that people with metabolic syndrome have significantly higher rates of dementia and Alzheimer's later in life. Your brain literally ages differently when these hunger signals are broken. And here's the final twist that nobody talks about. Some people don't overeat, they undereat. Under chronic stress, cortisol can suppress appetite so completely that meals just disappear. You skip breakfast because you're not hungry. You work through lunch because you're in the zone. Dinner is small because you're tired. The scale stays stable. You think you're fine. But your body is quietly cannibalizing itself. Muscle breaks down for energy. Thyroid hormone production drops to conserve resources. Sex hormones plummet. Immune function weakens. You're not overweight, but you're metabolically starving. And hunger, the signal that should tell you your cells need fuel, is so suppressed by stress that you can't hear it anymore. So whether you're overeating or undereating, the core problem is the same. Your hunger system is broken. And when that system breaks, your body adapts in ways you won't feel until it's almost too late. So the question isn't just, why don't I feel hungry anymore? The question is, how do I turn this system back on before the damage becomes irreversible? And here's what almost no one understands about hunger. Your body doesn't just need food, it needs space. For most of human history, eating came in waves. Meals, feasts, and long, quiet stretches of nothing. Your metabolism evolved inside that rhythm. The eating window was for taking in energy. The fasting window was for repair, recalibration, and cleanup. When you eliminate the fasting window and eat constantly from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m., you eliminate half of your body's survival strategy. Because here's what happens during those empty hours. Insulin finally drops. When insulin falls, your cells can stop storing and start accessing fat for energy. That switch from fed mode to fasted mode is when your metabolism gets flexible again. Ghrelin rises in clean waves. Instead of being constantly suppressed by grazing, ghrelin is allowed to peak before meals and fall after. That rhythm retrains your brain to recognize real hunger versus boredom, stress, or habit. Leptin's signal gets clearer. When you're not constantly spiking insulin, your brain can finally hear leptin's message from your fat cells. We have reserves, you can relax. And here's the part that makes fasting so powerful. Your cells start cleaning house. There's a process called autophagy, cellular recycling. When your body isn't busy digesting and storing food, it shifts resources to breaking down damaged proteins, clearing out dysfunctional mitochondria, and recycling cellular debris. This isn't just maintenance. This is anti-aging at the molecular level. But autophagy doesn't kick in when you're grazing every 3 hours. It needs empty space. And the longer you've been trapped in 24/7 feeding mode, the more desperately your cells need that cleanup. Now, you don't need to do extreme fasting to access this. Even modest gaps between meals begin to shift the hormonal environment. Let's say you finish dinner at 7 p.m. and don't eat again until 7 a.m. That's 12 hours. A gentle, overnight fast. In those 12 hours, insulin drops, fat burning ticks up. Your hunger circuits get a chance to recalibrate. If you extend that to 14 or 16 hours, the benefits compound. Ghrelin rhythms normalize faster. Insulin sensitivity improves. Your liver gets time to process stored fat instead of constantly taking in new calories. You start to feel hunger as a wave again. It builds, peaks. You eat, it falls. And suddenly food stops being this constant background hum of decisions and temptations. It becomes clear, intentional, responsive to your actual energy needs. But here's what makes this reset so difficult for most people. The first few days feel terrible because your body has been running on external fuel for so long that when you finally ask it to tap into stored energy, it panics. You feel shaky, irritable, anxious, convinced you're starving. But you're not starving. You have energy. It's stored in your fat cells, your liver glycogen, your muscle tissue. Your body just forgot how to access it. So when you finally give it empty space, it has to relearn. And that relearning process feels like withdrawal. Because in a way it is. You've been chemically dependent on constant feeding. Now you're asking your metabolism to work the way it was designed to work. And it will adapt, but only if you stay consistent. So let me walk you through what actually happens inside your body when you stop eating on autopilot and finally wait for real hunger to arrive. Hour 1 to 2 after your last meal. Digestion is in full swing. Your stomach is churning. Enzymes are breaking down proteins and fats. Glucose from carbohydrates enters your bloodstream. Insulin rises to shuttle that glucose into cells. In this window, not feeling hungry is completely normal. Your body just received fuel. It doesn't need more. Reaching for a snack here isn't hunger. It's habit. Hour 3 to 5, insulin starts to fall back toward baseline. Your body transitions from using the food you just ate to tapping into glycogen stored in your liver. Glucose trickles into your bloodstream to keep your brain stable. And here's where ghrelin might start to rise. You feel a light hollowness, a subtle dip in energy, a growing awareness of food. That's not an emergency. That's the early wave of true hunger. If you're used to constant eating, this sensation might feel uncomfortable, unfamiliar, even threatening. Your brain might mislabel it as stress or anxiety. But it's just ghrelin doing its job. Hour 5 to 7, this is where most people panic. Ghrelin has peaked. Your stomach might growl. You feel genuinely hungry. And if you've been grazing for years, your brain interprets this as a crisis. Cortisol bumps up slightly. Your body is asking, where's the food? It's been hours. Are we in danger? You might feel irritable, unfocused, desperate for a snack. But here's what's actually happening. Your liver is releasing stored glucose. Your fat cells are beginning to release fatty acids for energy. Your body has fuel. You're not starving. You're just feeling hunger for the first time in years. And if you ride this wave without immediately eating, something remarkable happens. The hunger peaks. Then it fades. Because ghrelin doesn't just keep climbing forever. It rises in waves. If you don't eat, it will crest and then fall, even without food. And when it falls, you feel calm again. Clear, not desperate. This is your body learning that hunger is not an emergency. Hour 8 to 12. Now you're in a deeper fasted state. Insulin is low. Fat burning is elevated. Your cells are accessing stored energy smoothly. Hunger might return in gentle waves, but it's no longer frantic. Your brain is starting to trust the process. And here's where the reset really begins. Your ghrelin rhythm becomes predictable, rising before your usual meal times, falling after you eat. Your leptin signal gets clearer. Your brain starts hearing, "We have reserves," instead of just "feed me now." Your insulin sensitivity improves. Your cells respond to smaller amounts of insulin, so your pancreas doesn't have to work as hard. Over days and weeks, these small shifts compound. Your hunger waves become reliable. You can feel when your body genuinely needs fuel versus when you're just bored, stressed, or following the clock. Food stops being this constant mental burden, and you start to experience something you haven't felt in years. Metabolic flexibility. The ability to run smoothly on stored energy when food isn't available. The ability to feel satisfied after a meal and not think about food again for hours. The ability to trust your body's signals. But here's the critical part. This reset doesn't happen if you're trying to biohack your way through it with willpower alone. You have to support the process. So here's how you actually do this without destroying yourself. This isn't a diet, it's a recalibration. Day 1 to 3. Learn to rate your hunger. Before every meal or snack, pause. Ask yourself, how hungry am I really? Rate it from 1 to 10. 1 equals I have zero interest in food. 10 equals I'm so hungry I could eat the table. For 3 days, just track this. You're not restricting yet. You're mapping. You're learning what a 3 feels like versus a 7. You're noticing how often you eat at a 2 or 3 just because the clock says lunchtime. Most people discover they almost never eat above a 6. They're eating on autopilot, day 4 to 5. Create space between meals. Now aim to eat only when you're at least a 6 or 7. If it's noon and you're at a 4, wait. Drink water. Go for a walk. Let the wave build. Create at least 4 to 5 hours between meals. No snacks, no nibbles, just a little something. Water, black coffee, or plain tea only. This is where it gets uncomfortable. You'll feel hunger. Real, physical hunger. And your brain will scream that this is dangerous. It's not. You have stored energy. Your body is learning to access it. Day 6 to 7. Add an overnight fast finish dinner by 7 p.m. Don't eat again until 7 a.m. or later. That's a 12 to 14 hour overnight fast. In that window, insulin drops. Ghrelin resets. Your liver gets space to process stored fat. The first morning, you might wake up ravenous. Or you might wake up and realize you're not even hungry yet. Both are normal. You're retraining a system that's been broken for years. What to eat. During your eating windows, this matters as much as the timing. Prioritize whole, minimally processed foods. Protein, chicken, fish, eggs, Greek yogurt, fiber, vegetables, legumes, whole grains, healthy fats, avocado, nuts, olive oil. These foods stabilize blood sugar. They don't spike dopamine like ultra-processed junk. They support steady energy instead of crashes. Avoid sugary drinks, packaged snacks, anything with more than 5 ingredients you can't pronounce. You're not counting calories. You're eating real food and then stopping when you're satisfied, not stuffed. Support the process. Sleep 7 to 9 hours per night. When you're sleep deprived, ghrelin rises and leptin falls. You'll feel hungrier and less satisfied. Manage stress. 5 slow breaths before meals. A 10-minute walk after work. Anything that signals to your nervous system, we're safe, we're not being chased. Because chronic stress keeps cortisol high, and high cortisol scrambles your hunger signals. What to expect? Days 1 to 3. Awareness. You'll notice how often you eat without hunger. Days 4 to 5. Discomfort. Real hunger will show up. It will feel intense if you're not used to it. Ride the wave. It will pass. Days 6 to 7. Clarity. Hunger starts to feel predictable. You eat. You feel satisfied. You don't think about food again for hours. After 7 days, you'll have a baseline understanding of what real hunger feels like in your body, and you can decide how to move forward. But before you start, let's be very clear about when this approach is not appropriate. Do not attempt this if you're pregnant or breastfeeding. Your body has different energy demands. Hunger signals are supposed to be heightened. You have type 1 diabetes or take insulin for type 2 diabetes. Fasting without medical supervision can cause dangerous blood sugar drops. You have a history of eating disorders. Restricting food intake, even with good intentions, can trigger relapse. You're on medications that affect appetite or blood sugar. Some antidepressants, antipsychotics, and diabetes drugs change how hunger works. Talk to your doctor first. You have complex medical conditions like adrenal insufficiency, severe kidney disease, or active cancer. Your body's needs are different. This is not about pushing through regardless of your situation. This is about responsible self-awareness. If any of these apply to you, work with a healthcare provider who understands metabolic health and can guide you safely. For everyone else, this is one of the most powerful resets you can give your body. Because here's what you're really doing with this reset. You're not just learning to feel hunger again. You're reclaiming a core survival sense that modern life has systematically destroyed. Hunger is not the enemy. It's the signal that your energy systems are still intact. When you can feel hunger rise, peak, and fall in clean waves, it means your ghrelin rhythm is working. Your leptin signal is getting through. Your insulin sensitivity is improving. Your brain and your body are talking again. And when that communication is restored, everything downstream improves. Your liver stops hoarding fat. Your pancreas gets a break. Your cells become more responsive to insulin. Your inflammation drops. Your risk of metabolic syndrome, type 2 diabetes, and cardiovascular disease falls dramatically. But it's not just physical. Your mood stabilizes. Your energy becomes predictable. Your focus sharpens. Food stops being this constant mental burden, a source of guilt, anxiety, or obsession. It becomes what it was always supposed to be: fuel, nourishment, and then you move on with your life. That's metabolic freedom. And it starts the moment you stop fearing hunger and start listening to it. So here's your challenge for the next 7 days. Rate your hunger before every meal. Create 4 to 5 hour gaps between eating. Finish dinner early and delay breakfast. Notice what happens. Does hunger feel unfamiliar, frightening? Does it rise and fall in waves? Does the first true stomach growl in years feel like a wake-up call? If it does, you're not broken. You're waking up. Drop a comment and tell me what you noticed. The first hunger wave you felt in months. The moment you realized you'd been eating on autopilot for years. The shock when you went 6 hours without food and didn't collapse. Then watch the video on fasting and autophagy. Because once you restore these hunger waves, you unlock access to something even more powerful: deep cellular repair. The kind that happens when you give your body more than just a few hours of empty space. The kind that rewrites how your cells age. But it all starts here, with hunger. Real, honest, physical hunger. The signal your body has been trying to send for years. It's time to listen.